Hello everyone! In this video, we're going to go over the KutaSoftware Infinite PreAlgebra free worksheet finding percent change. Now, I'll leave a link in the description below so you know how to access this free worksheet. Our directions are to find each percent change, so our answer is going to be a percent, and then we're going to round to the nearest tenth of that percent, and we're going to state if it's an increase or a decrease. Now quickly I want to note an increase would be if the number listed second is greater than the original number. That's an increase. Whereas a decrease is if that second number listed is smaller than the original. So let's dive into number one. In number one, it says from 82 to 38. So the first question I like to ask is whether this is an increase or a decrease. 82, our starting number, is bigger than 38. So this is a decrease. So I'll just go ahead and highlight that so I know that it's a decrease. Now, how do you find that percent change? Well, in order to find the percent change, we first have to find the change. So the change from 82 to 38. And to find the change, I'm going to take the larger number and subtract the smaller number. So I'm going to do 82 minus 38. What does that equal? 82 minus 38, feel free to do this in your head, or a quick double check with the calculator, since we're going to need it later anyway, is 44. So going from 82 to 38 is a change of 44 units. So since we have the change, now we need to find the percent change. And how you find the percent change is you take the change over the original number. So we're going to take the change of 44 and divide it by our original of 82. And this is definitely where a calculator will come in handy. So we'll take 44 and divide it by 82 to get 0.53, so 0.5365, which rounds to 0.537. And again, I want this as a percent. I have it in a decimal form. I want it as a percent. So I'll move that decimal place over twice to get my percent of 53.7%, and that's a decrease. So 53.7% decrease, going from 82 to 38. Let's move on to number two. And number two, we're going from 75 to 45. 45 is smaller than 75, so our second number is smaller than our starting number, so we know that we're decreasing. And again, in order to find that percent change, we need to find the change and divide it by our starting or our original number. So the change from 75 to 45, we'll take the larger number 75 and subtract 45 to get 30. Now we're going to take that change and divide it by the original. So 30 divided by 75 is going to be 0.4. So 0.4, which as a percent, moving that decimal place 2 to the right, because in order to change it to a percent or multiplying by 100, that's going to be 40%, and this was a decrease. So we get a 40% decrease for number two. In number three, we're going from 33 to 47. This one's slightly different than 1 and 2 because our starting number is smaller than our finished number, or smaller than that second number. So this is an increase. We're going from 33 to 47. But the same rules still apply to find that percent change. We're going to find the change and divide it by the original. And to find the change, I'm taking my larger number and subtracting my smaller number. So this case, I'm going to take that second number and subtract my starting number. So 47 minus 33 is going to give me 14. So I'll take that change, because 14 is our change, and divide it by the original 33. 14 divided by 33, going back to our calculator, is 0.424. So I'll put 0.42, and then I'm going to round to the nearest thousandth when I'm doing the decimal, because when multiplying by 100, that would be the same as rounding to the nearest tenth for a percent. So moving that decimal place over twice, we'll get 42.4%, and this was what? An increase. Number 3, what do you think I'm going to ask? Right, whether it's an increase or a decrease. And starting at 92, going to 9.7, that is a decrease. Next step, find that change. 92 minus 9.7 is 82.3. So 82 3/10 is our change. So we'll take that change and divide it by the original starting number. So dividing 82 3/10 by 92 will give us 0.8945. Rounding to that nearest thousandth will be 0.895, and then converting that to a percent, moving the decimal place over twice, will be 89.5%, and this again was a decrease. Moving right along to number 5, we're going from 70 to 62. 70 is larger than 62, so we're decreasing that value. Finding the change, we'll do 70 minus 62, which gives us a change of 8 units. Now we'll take that change over the starting value, over that 70. And 8 divided by 70, going to our calculator, is 0.11. Rounding to the nearest thousandth will be 4, and then when I move that decimal place over twice, that will be like rounding to the nearest tenth for the percent. So this is an 11.4% decrease because that number got smaller. In number 6, we're going from 8 to 4, and logically we can think about that. We're cutting that number 8 in half, and half is like a 50% decrease. But let's go ahead and work out that math. So we know it's a decrease because 4 is less than 8. 8 minus 4 is going to give us 4. So the change is 4. And for that change over our original starting number is going to be 4/8, which in decimal form is 0.5. Moving that over twice, I'll get a 50% decrease for number 6. In number 7, we're going from 58.5 to 76.3. So our starting number is smaller than our finished number, so we're actually increasing in number 7. And again, to find that change, we take the larger minus the smaller. So this time, we're going to take that second number and subtract our starting number. So 76.3 minus 58.5. Saving some time by doing that on the calculator, we'll get 17.8. So 17.8 is the change, and we'll put that over the original. So dividing 17.8 by 58.5 will give us, rounding to that nearest thousandth for the decimal, 0.304, or 304 thousandths. Moving that decimal place over twice to change that to a percent will be 30.4%, and this was an increase. In number 8, going from 58 to 53, we are decreasing because the starting number is larger than that second number. Finding that change, we'll take the largest number and subtract the smaller number. 58 minus 53 is going to be 5. So we'll take that change over the original to get the percent change. So 5 divided by 58 is going to be 0.86 when rounding to that nearest thousandth, which in turn is the same as rounding to the nearest tenth of that percent. So this is 8.6%. That's the percent change, and we know that it was a decrease. In number 9, going from 79 to 94, we're increasing the value of that number. So this is an increase. Finding that change, we take the larger number and subtract the smaller number. So 94 minus 79. That's going to be 15. So then we're going to take that change over the original starting number. So that's 15 over 79. 15 divided by 79, so writing 15, dividing it by 79 is 0.1898. But note that when we round this 9 up, that's going to carry over into the next decimal place to the left. So this is going to be 0.190 or 19%, and that's a 19% increase. Number 10, we're going from 63 to 98. So we know that number's increasing. And 98 minus 63 is going to leave us with 35. So the change is 35, and I'll write that change of 35 over the original starting number, 63, to get my decimal form of the change, and then change that to get the percent change. 35 divided by 63 is going to give me 0.5 repeating, which rounds to 0.556, moving that decimal place over twice, 55.6%, and that's an increase. In number 11, from 84 to 4, that number is dropping. So that's a decrease. Finding the change, 84 minus 4, we have a change of 80 units. So taking that change and writing it over the original, so that change divided by our original amount, 80 over 84, is going to be 0.952. So this is a 95.2% decrease. 71 to 22, again, that's a decrease. So taking 71, subtracting 22, we're going to get 49. So then, putting that change over our starting value, 49, dividing that by 71, is going to give us a decimal. And that decimal is 0.690. Changing that to a percent, 69% decrease. All right, so that wraps up that first page. Let's go ahead and continue on to the second. And the second page, we're switching things up a bit by putting a label onto the numbers. So now our change is not just units, our change is going to be feet, meters, dollars, etc. But the same concept still applies. Let's figure out if this is a decrease or an increase. Going from 79 to 157 is an increase. So I'm going to take that larger number and subtract the smaller number. So I'll have 157 feet and I'll subtract 79 feet. So the change is going to be some number of feet. 157 minus 79 is going to give us 78 feet. So we'll take that 78 feet and divide it by our original 79 feet. Notice that our units are going to cancel out, and we're just going to have a decimal. 78 divided by 79 is going to give us 0.987. Changing that to a percent, that's 98.7%, and that's an increase. So you can see that the units will indeed cancel out, but I'll continue writing them in for the sake of carrying the units through. In number 14, going from 174 to 135.9 miles, that is a decrease. So taking the larger 174 miles and subtracting the smaller 135.9 miles, how many miles are we going to have? So 174 minus 135.9 miles, that's going to leave us with 38.1 miles. So I'm going to take that change and divide it by the start. And this is going to give me my percent change. So taking 38.1 and dividing it by 174, that'll leave me with 0.2189, which rounds to 21.9%. And that was a decrease. So a 21.9% decrease for number 14. In number 15, we're going from $109 to $98. We're losing money. That's a decrease. $109 minus $98 is going to leave us with how many dollars? That's going to be $11. So we'll have $11 over our starting amount of $109. So taking 11 and dividing it by 109, we get about 10.1%, and that was a decrease. Let's move on to number 16. In number 16, we're going from 122 minutes to 109 minutes. So again, this is a decrease. So 122 minutes minus 109 minutes, well, that's going to leave us with 13 minutes. And that change of 13 minutes over our starting value of 122 minutes will give us that percent change. So we'll do 13 divided by 122 to get about 10.7%. So 10.7%, and that's a decrease. In number 17, 43 minutes to 160 minutes, that is an increase. And how much did that increase by? 160 minutes, that larger number, minus our smaller number of 43 minutes, that's going to give us 117 minutes. So I'll take that 117 and divide it by our original of 43. So 117 divided by 43 minutes will give us our percent change. So dividing 117 by 43, we get, well, as a decimal, it's 2.721 when rounding, but we're moving that decimal place 2 to the right. So if I wrote this as a decimal, again, we get 2.721. Moving that decimal point 2 to the right when multiplying by 100 to get the percent change is going to be 272.1%, and that was an increase. 272.1% increase for number 17. And number 18, 55 grams to 70 grams. That, again, is an increase because 70 is greater than 55. So we'll take 70 grams and subtract 55 grams. 70 minus 55 grams is going to be 15 grams. So I'll take that change of 15 grams and I'll put it over our starting value, which we started at 55. So now calculating this percent change, 15 over 55, 15 divided by 55 is going to be 0.272727, so 0.27 repeating, and that's going to round to 27.3%. So that's 27.3% increase. Number 19, from 199 feet to 92 feet, we are decreasing. So 199 feet minus 92 feet, well, that's going to be 107 feet. So if we take that change and put it over the original, I just need to do 107 divided by 199, which gives me about 53.8%, and that's a decrease. And number 20, from 152 to 196, that's an increase in miles. So I'll take that larger number and subtract the smaller number. That's going to leave me with 44 miles. Take the change and put it over the original. Change divided by the original gives the percent change. So 44 divided by 152 is 28.9%. And that's a 28.9% increase. 21, we're going from 141 grams to 142 grams. Well, that's an increase. And what's that change? That's pretty easy to do right off the top. We're just changing by 1 gram. So our change, I'll write that as 1 gram. So we're going to take that change and put it over our original of 141. So 1 divided by 141 is going to give us 0.007, which rounds to 0.7%. Because this decimal is 0.007, when I change that to a percent, I get 0.7%, and that was an increase. 22, from 88 grams to 84 grams, we're decreasing. And let's do the change really quickly in our head without even writing it out. That's a change of 4 grams, right? Because 88 minus 84 is 4 grams. So 4 grams divided by our 88 grams, because 88 was our original starting value. 4 divided by 88 is going to give us 0.0454545, etc. So that's 0.0, where the 45 is repeating. Rounding to the nearest tenth of a percent, that's going to be 4.5%, and this was a decrease. Continuing on to the last 2 problems, let's go over number 23 together. However, just as a quick note, if you've been finding this video helpful, please don't forget to click that like button and go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you're updated when I come out with new videos. For now, however, let's continue on. So going from 43 minutes to 28 minutes, that is a decrease. So I'm going to take my 43 minutes and subtract those 28 minutes. When I do so, 43 minus 28, that will be a difference of 15 minutes. So I'll take my change over my original. That's going to give me my percent change. So 15 divided by 43 is going to be 34.9% after rounding. And again, that's a 34.9% decrease for number 23. Whoop whoop, finally on to that last problem, number 24. We're going to go from 54 meters to 154 meters. That is an increase, and that's a change of 100 meters, because 100 plus 54 will give us 154. So I'll take that change and put it over my original 54 meters. 100 divided by 54 is going to give me 1.852, And when changing that to a percent, that's 185.2%, and that's an increase. So I have a 185.2% increase for my last problem on this worksheet. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I or one of your peers will respond as quickly as we can. Also, before continuing on to another video, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.